When it comes to your youth ministry, you won't know how to improve things unless you take time evaluating. You have to know what things are working well and what things are not working well, what things are under your control and what's out of your control. A good evaluation technique will help you to gather this kind of data to be able to make a decision going forward. Let's walk through a simple process with 6 steps that I think will help you out. In the SWOT IQ process, the very first part is the strengths. Strengths are things that contributed to or were evidence of health, growth, and effectiveness. These are things that you did, your team did, your church did, your leadership did, you were responsible for, that added to health, growth, and effectiveness of that program, event, or ministry. When you're meeting together with a group, I recommend using blue markers on a white easel pad or blue post-it notes with black Sharpies to write down these strengths so you can visually and quickly see what the strengths were. These are important to note because that is what you're looking for health and effectiveness. And if you can see what you did that led to this, you can try to repeat those for future growth and effectiveness. Now, keep in mind, I am not saying in this process that all these things work and God's out of the picture. I'm saying as far as we are responsible for, here are the things that we're going to pay attention to. Prayer and God's involvement, of course, are a factor in anything that we do, but we also have things that we're responsible for, and that's what we're looking for in this process. The second part of the SWOT IQ process is looking at weaknesses. Now, before you get too critical, there are differences between weaknesses and threats. So let's look at weaknesses specifically. There are things that we did that did not support or detracted from health, growth, and effectiveness. Look back at what things did you do that didn't help your program or your ministry be healthy or effective? What things were done that actually worked against you instead of for you? When you're recording these things down, I like to use pink markers or a dark pink so it shows up and can be read on a white easel pad, or use black Sharpie on pink sticky notes. And those will keep you as a visual reminder as contrasted to the blue you use for strengths. So we have strengths and weaknesses. Then we have opportunities. And opportunities are a big deal because they are external factors that contributed to or were evidence of health, growth, or effectiveness. This could be you had something outside planned and the weather was perfect. You can't prepare for that or predict it, but it was definitely a part of why you were successful. Maybe the schedule cleared and everybody else had things cancel, which made it available for them to come to what you had planned. What were things that made what you did healthy, effective, successful, but that was totally out of your control? Those are your opportunities. Like you already saw in there, I would suggest using green markers on your white easel pad or paper and green sticky notes with a black Sharpie to write these things down and differentiate opportunities from strengths. Strengths are blue. They're things that you had control of and influence over. Opportunities are green. They also helped it be healthy and effective, but they were outside things that contributed to that. Next one, the counterpart to opportunities are threats. And threats are external factors that did not support or detracted from your health, growth, or effectiveness. One time I planned a game night. Our children's pastor planned a game night. We had everything ready to go, did everything we've done before for great game nights, and almost nobody showed up. What we found out, because at the time our kids were so young we didn't think about it, but there were 2 homecoming parades and games going on that night for our major schools that our church is a part of. We had no idea, but all these families went, and that was an external force. Now, what do we do with that? The next time we planned a game night around football season, we checked the high school homecoming schedules and avoided those nights. So you don't always have control of your threats, but sometimes you can avoid them. When you're recording your threats, that's where I recommend using orange or a dark orange on your white easel pad or paper, and orange sticky notes with a black Sharpie to write those down. That way you know that orange is a threat, whereas your pink was a weakness. A weakness, your responsibility. A threat, something negative that you didn't have any control over. Now, for a lot of evaluation techniques, they stop with those 4. You have a grid, you post these things up there. But I found in working with my volunteers and leaders that we've gotten information and feedback from 2 other areas that didn't quite fit these 4. And we've used it, and it's really helped us in both evaluating and planning for future events and activities. So I want to give you 2 more here for the letters I and letter Q. The first one is I for ideas. Now, ideas are thoughts to consider for next time. They're what would be done at an ideal no limits version. If you take away any limits of time, of money, of location, of resources, and you could plan the most amazing version of this event or program or activity, what would it look like? This is an idea, an ideal and an idea. An ideal version, an idea, a thought you might want to consider for next time. It's a great thing to kind of grab onto. And these I like to write in purple marker on the white paper or use a purple sticky note with a black Sharpie. And the last area I throw in are questions. This may seem obvious, but questions are things that we're wondering but don't have an answer to yet. Maybe we need to ask someone or gather more data. So you're not quite ready to say this is an idea we should try. You don't actually know if it's a strength, a weakness, an opportunity, or a threat because you need more information. It's a question that's come up in the process. Maybe we need to go and do more research. Maybe we need to gather some data. Maybe something could be a strength or it could be an opportunity. We just don't really know if it's something that we have control over or not. Again, question. It's something you want to find more information about. And then from what you find, then you can decide where that goes. Questions are things that we either write in yellow or it's kind of hard to see. So sometimes we'll write in black and highlight it in yellow. And then we'll definitely use yellow sticky notes with black Sharpie to capture those ideas that we need to get more information about. Maybe it's a question about how we did something or a question about how something turned out. We just don't have the data in front of us. And this allows us to capture that and use it for further planning and evaluation. Now, we also will throw in white paper with colored pencils or crayons or markers and white sticky notes to capture sketches. That's where a visual image can gather a concept in more powerful ways than just words. Now, this is a sketch, not art. The goal here is something recognizable, not something that's artistic. So in that little sketch note, it's really rough, but you get it, it's an idea, and that's a light bulb. Same kind of thing. Grab some white paper and some colored pencils or markers or crayons. It seems childish, but kids are very creative. And then also grab some white sticky notes, and now you can put these visuals that go with things you're talking about. This is really helpful if you're talking about a map, if you need to diagram something, if you just want to include a visual that will bring home the point of what you're trying to capture, no matter what category of those 6 that it goes in, all of them can have white paper with sketches that are a part of what you're capturing. The last thing I'm going to do is give you some resources. What do I use or have I used in walking through this process with a team, and what could you use? Again, not saying go out and get all these things or buy all this stuff. I'm just showing you what to start with, and I'm giving you links to these resources in the video description. If you go to the Brainstorming website, you can find all sorts of instructions for how to do different evaluation techniques like some of the things I've listed here. They also have a book called Brainstorming that walks you through a lot of these and gives you good instructions for all kinds of things to work together as a team and use your mind in a fun way that will help you have great results. Now, if you or someone on your team is thinking, the sketching part, that'd be really cool, but we're just not good at that. Emily Mills has a lot of great sketchnote resources and tips on her website, along with her book, Visual Notetaking. I highly recommend both of those as resources if you want to raise the game when it comes to using images and sketches in your note-taking and in your idea sessions. When it comes to creativity, Disney Imagineers had to be at the top of your list, and former Disney Imagineer C. McNair Wilson has some great stuff on his Facebook page and in his book Hatch, Brainstorming Secrets of a Theme Park Designer. Lots of great stuff in here, great resources, great tips and tools. His 7 agreements of brainstorming, really good stuff when you want to go from evaluating to planning, especially when the sky's the limit and you want to have the most effective creative brainstorm session. Check out the book Hatch. That's linked in our description. I mentioned a few times using big easel pads. My favorite ones to use are the ones from Post-it that have a sticky back at the top. You can put them up around the room, write on them, move them around. Really, really helpful. You don't have to have an easel there to put them up on. There are other generic brands that are available. I have found they don't always stick as well or work very well, but if budget is your major concern, then go for the different brands that are out there that aren't Post-it note and use those and just give them a try and see how they work. Post-it has a variety of colors that seem to change and be seasonal and come in and out. There's this primary pack that has most of the colors that I use in a brainstorm session for SWOT IQ. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple are all in there, and then you just got to buy some white ones. You can check out your local office supply store or look online and get a good set that you can use. Along those lines, Post-it also has a Post-it Notes app that's a great way for capturing digitally a recording of what your group worked on together. It digitizes the notes and puts them on your phone. You can still rearrange them, work on them, edit them, add to them with your notes after that session is done. This is really good for keeping the conversation going beyond your in-person meeting. When it comes to using colored markers, my favorite is to go back to my days of elementary school and grab these Mr. Sketch colored scented markers. Scent is tied to memory, so sometimes that creativity will be boosted when you've got a blueberry, cherry, or a mint marker you're using to capture those ideas on paper. And then, of course, with my sticky notes, you can't fail just using a good old black Sharpie and getting a box of those to pass around and everyone to write and record things on. I hope this has been helpful for you with a process and some resources in youth ministry. Stopping and taking time to evaluate how things went can really help us for the future. And I didn't mention it, but I hope you know this. When you do that evaluation, collect all those things together and then put that in some kind of a file, digitally or physically, so that next time you begin to plan that same event, you can look back at your notes and save yourself a whole lot of time on strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, ideas, and questions. Thanks so much.